Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to Looplearnings. This is the next video in the series. We are making personal expense management system. If you haven't watched videos in this series, then click on the link in the description box for the entire playlist. All right. In this video, we will continue with the user interface. In the last video, I demonstrated how to fetch the detail of the categories, how to have a double-click event, and so on and so forth. In this video, we are going to do kind of similar, but this will be interesting because today we'll be looking at making a query based on the table expenses and then fetching the data from that query by clicking this button, populating it on this list box using the SQL statement, and then having double click event applicable as well. So this is what we are going to do. If you are interested, if you like to learn, if you want to watch, then stay tuned and watch till the end. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. In any case, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure that you do hit the bell icon so you get notification whenever I upload a new video. Right, let's get started with what we are going to do. So I'm going to go back to the design view. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit clearly. And I'm going to go to Create tab on the ribbon. And I'm going to navigate to Queries section. And there's a query visit and there's a query design. Now, visit is good, but I like to build queries by myself. So we'll go to query design. All right. Now, first of all, let me explain why query, why not table. So let's double click on expenses table. Right away, we can see that there's expense ID, user ID, category ID. These are required when we are actually fetching the data, populating on the list box. These are actually required, but we are going to hide them. All right. What I need, however, is category name. So basically what I want, users should be able to see the category name and then the amount and when the expenses were occurred. So that user interface I'm trying to build, so which is easier for user. All right. So this is what we are going to do. Now, if we will see, the category name is not there. However, category ID is there. So we can actually have a category name in the query because guess what? These are relational tables. All right. So let's go to the query and let me close this property sheet and let me double click on the tables that I need. So I need expenses table and I need categories table. All right. Now in here, I'm going to fetch expense ID, user ID, category ID. They are required. And then the category name and then amount, description, expense date, payment method, and status. Now we have fetched the information that we needed. Now we'll go back to the data sheet view. This is our query. Now we'll see that how many columns are there? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have got 9 columns and only addition of column is category name. All right. That's the difference in the expense table and the query. Now, if you think that, hey, it's not really required, well, you can skip this query part and then directly fetch the information from the table itself. It's up to you completely. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this query and I'm going to give a name and I'm going to call it expenses Q, which is query. All right. So let's save it. I'm not going to close the query because we are going to refer to it very soon, but I'm going to go back to main form. And in here, now the next step I need to do is I need to, go to the VB editor behind this button and have an on-click event. All right. So with on-click event, we want a couple of things to happen. First, we want the caption of the create button to be changed to create expense. And then the caption of this label to be changed to expenses. So that should happen first. And then I'm going to fetch the information from this query and populate everything onto this list box. Then I will explain you further what we are going to do. So first, let's get this done. So I've clicked on, or I've rather selected the expenses button. I would like to go to the property sheet of the expenses button. And I would like to navigate to event tab in the property sheet. And I will click on ... on click event. And we'll click on code builder. Here we are in the VBA editor. Okay. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see it clearly. Okay. Now the first thing I'm going to do is, as I explained, we are going to follow the similar structure as my explanation. So I'm going to get this nice comment here, populate the now showing with the expenses and update the create button caption as well. Okay, so here we go. First line of code, me.lbl now showing dot caption equal, what do we want to do is we want to change the caption to expenses. All right, also we want to change the caption of the button, btn create dot caption equal create expense. All right, after that we are going to then populate the information onto the list box. Remember, this is what I said. So I'm going to copy this statement and I'm going to paste in here. Okay, now let's populate. So to populate, we need to set the record row source, not record set, row source of the list box. So we'll say me dot list main dot row source equal, and in here we are going to use the SQL statement, particularly the select statement. Now I can do two things, right? I can do this select asterisk. This means fetch everything. All right, select everything from where? From this query. All right, or I can specifically mention each column name particularly separately. In this case, I think I don't need to do that. I will go ahead and use with the asterisk sign, and that should do the job as well. All right, select asterisk meaning all, from where? From the table, sorry, the query that we have just created. So expenses Q. All right, right now there is no where clause. We are going to have where clause for sure, but later on when we will create a mechanism for login. All right, that's when we are going to have a mechanism for expenses Q. All right, so where clause. Now once it is defined, then I'm going to actually set some properties of the list box. So we'll say me.list main dot column heads equal true, and then we'll say me.list main dot column count. So the column count is 9. If you remember, we counted that there are 9 columns. All right, and then if you're still not sure, you can actually go back and actually count the columns. All right, so let me count it again just for me also to make sure. So 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. All right, now we need to define the width of each column. All right, this is a bit tedious, but even I sometimes get irritated that we have to define width every single time. Microsoft Access should intelligently, we should define what column we need to populate or show, and Microsoft Access should intelligently determine the width of each column based on the total width of the list box. Anyway, we hope that we have Microsoft Access one day with those functionalities, but let's do it manually for now. All right, okay, list main dot column widths. Okay, column width. So here we go. It's a little bit tedious, so just be patient, just stay with me. I'm telling you. So first column, second column, and third column, actually, if you will see, expense ID, user ID, category, they are required, they are good to have, but not right now. We will hide them. All right, we will not show them, we'll hide them. Instead, our list box should start with the category name. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we'll say 0 centimeter, 0 centimeter, 0 centimeter. Okay, so that's done. Now category name is a little bit wider column, so let's define it as 4 centimeter. How about that? Okay, next, amount. Yes, we want to show amount, so let's have it as 3 centimeter. Okay, and then we have the description. Actually, a description is not really required to be populated, although if you want, you can definitely do that, but I would hide this column because I know that user will double click on this to see the full information about this expense record. So that's when the user can see the description. But if you want, you can actually populate it, but I'm going to hide it in my application. So description is 0, expense date. All right, so that's 3, payment method is 3, active is 3. All right, so now I'm going to do is 0 3 3 3. All right, so 4 columns, 0 3 3 3. All right, so I don't have to come back again here. All right, so 0 centimeter, 3 centimeter, 3 centimeter, 3 centimeter. I think this should work, but let's see. All right, I have saved the whatever changes we have made, so let me zoom out now. Let me do the debug. There's no compiler. That's good. Okay, let's go to the main form view, and let's click on manage expenses. And there you go. It's beautifully presented. Okay, let me zoom in. You can see it better. All right, so it is presented. The button says create expense. The label says expenses. The width of each column is defined perfectly. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to actually have two things done. One is when I click on create expense button, I want this form to be open, the expenses form. And if I double click on any record in the list box, again, I want this form to open with the record that we have selected. So that's the last part we are going to do. Okay, so I'm going to go back to design view, go back to the VB editor, but this time behind the create button. So let's go to the property sheet and then navigate to, I've turned off the property sheet. Actually, it was on. All right, so properties, navigate to the property sheet, event tab, ... and here we are. Okay, now let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to copy this and we'll say if the label is expenses, then, and we'll say else if me.lbl now showing dot caption equal expenses, then, all right, then what do we do? Well, then we will open the form. Open form. What form? Well, the form name is expenses F, I think so. Now I'm going to copy this and I'll tell you why. And I'm going to zoom out now because I need to go back to the main form because I need to have double click event built on this list box. So we'll go to the double click event ... and here we are. So I'm going to zoom in. All right, so this is the list main double click event. So I'm going to go in at the end and I'm going to paste whatever I've copied right here because it is going to be the same code. So rather than me typing again the same thing, it would be great if you can just copy paste, right? Okay, expenses. Okay, now first, if that's the case, then we are opening the expenses form and then we are going to actually populate the information stored in this query to the expenses form. All right, this is what we are going to achieve. I think it's zoomed in a lot, so let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, so that's about it. That's what we are going to do. Now let's go back to VB editor and we come here. I give a little bit space and in here I'll say, okay, so forms expenses F and the category ID, expense ID, because that's the first column, right? Equals me.list main.column 0. Now, how do I know that expense ID is stored in the column 0? Well, if you recall, we have just created a query and we defined the columns, right? So this is how I know that what information is stored in what column number, and we are going to give that reference in VBA as well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this line of code a couple of times. All right, so paste. All right, I think that's enough. Okay, one more time. Now, instead of expense ID, I will give user ID. I think that's the next column, and then the category ID. All right, then we have got what? Category name we don't need for now. Amount. Okay, so amount, description, expense date, payment method, status. So let's define amount, description, expense date, and payment method, and status. Okay, that's great. This is what we need. Let's remove the extra space that we have given. Okay, so in here now we have to define the column number. So I know the user ID is column 1, category ID is column 2, then we have got category name, that's column 3, so that means amount should be in column number 4, description is column 5, expense date in column 6, payment method column 7, and then status is column 8. All right. Now, if you are wondering how he knows what is the column number, well, as he said, we can go back to the query that we have made, and we can count, or we can determine what information is stored in what column number. All right. So that's done. Now we'll go back to the VB editor. Where is it? Do we have VB editor open? Let me zoom out. This whole zoom in, zoom out thing actually. All right. Okay, so our code is actually done. We are done with the VB code. Now it's time to do the testing, whether this whole thing works or not. So the code is completed here. Okay, let's zoom out now again. We'll go to debug, no compiler error, great. Now let's close this. Let's close this and let's open the main form. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit again so you can see it. So come on, there we go. All right, manage expenses, great. Information is coming. Let's double click on that. So we can see that $172 card active. All right, if I open this, $122 expense occurred due to official trip, etc., etc. So you can see that now we are able to open the form for new record, and I double clicked by mistake. So now double click again, so it returns to the original shape. So this is what I wanted to demonstrate. I hope that you have learned something. Let's summarize. So we have made a query based on the expenses table. We have fetched that data by clicking on this button and presented on the list box, and then we created a double click event to fetch the information from the query again and populate it on the form. That's about it. That's what I wanted to demonstrate. I hope that you have learned something. If you have, even if you have not, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.